Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome to the show. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. We do the show from the Par-Mar Store studio. If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group, including Thornhill CDJR on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Make this the season of Ram at the all-new Thornhill Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit them at the Fountain Place Mall in Logan or at thornhillcdjr.com. Phone calls to the show. A service of Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, Spring Street, Charleston. Texting services provided by West Virginia's finest men's store, Tony the Taylor on Virginia Street. Visit bestmastertailor.com. Well, it's the day after the big debate between former President Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris, and the opinions, they are aplenty. I'm sure you had them as I do. We're going to have some guests lined up a little bit later on, and then I am going to get into some debate talk, but I'm going to make you a deal. All right, the text lines are open now. So if you want to go ahead, and I already had some waiting on me when I got here this morning, get those texts in here now on the Tony the Taylor text line, and I will do my best to get to all of them later on in the show. I'll weigh in a little bit, but I'm more interested in hearing your take on the debate last night. Now, Hoppy, of course, will have more on this coming up at 10:06. On the show today, State Senator Mike Stuart, frequent guest of the show. He's been making the rounds, though, recently talking about helmet safety for our youth football players, particularly in regards to these Guardian caps. This all coming on the death of young Mr. Craddock down in Boone County. We'll talk to Senator Stewart about that. The legislature, of course, wrapping up a couple of days of interims at Parkersburg. We'll get to him about that. And being a former head of the Trump campaign in West Virginia a few years ago, he's probably going to want to mention something about the debate between Trump and Harris last night. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on as well. Of course, it is the anniversary of 9/11. This time, 23 years ago, we were all standing around. I was actually on the air on the radio in Logan at the time, and we were all gathered in the sales room down the hall watching the coverage and not just, being totally, what's the word I'm looking for? Just totally in a trance, I guess, at that time, at this particular time. And because it had just happened like 30 minutes before, and then we had the other center that fell after 10. So we'll try to touch on that as best we can as well. A couple of quick news items so I have to get to. There is increased police presence this morning at Capitol High, Ben Franklin Career Center, and at Carver as precaution due to, stop me if you've heard this before, more of these online threats. No reason to believe any of them are true, but, caution and stuff. It's been going on all over the state and in other states as well. So just some increased presence at those locations today. And also, some news about KRT, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit more the next couple of days. They are trying, as you know, we've had Sean Hill on the show a couple of times, trying to switch up some of their services in order to save money. The latest plan possibly to eliminate Sunday service, and I'm going to get into that in a future show. We'll be following the story, of course, throughout the day as well. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858, and Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Right now, though, I want to bring in Amelia Knisely from West Virginia Watch. Good morning, Amelia. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you? I'm
fine. Can I ask you, without being too personal, your memories of 9/11? I mean, you're a lot younger than I am, I would suspect, but where were you?
Yes, so I was in 7th grade at Crosslanes Christian here in Kanawha County, and I have a cousin who worked in the trade towers, and thankfully made it out and is safe and a father now with beautiful children. But he and his then fiance both worked in downtown New York City. And so, like many family members, we waited to hear if he was okay. And that took quite a bit of time, right? Because his cell phone and all the things were not working at that time. But I actually just learned a couple of weeks ago that his fiance changed her work voicemail to her location so that when he kept calling her, because the phones were down, he at least could know where she was. And he walked miles through all of that chaos to get to her. I just found that story out a couple weeks ago.
What a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I remember, I was in school when it happened and they dismissed us. And of course you couldn't really understand what's going on, right? But I feel like as the years go by, you realize how more and more significant that day was.
Yeah. Well, it was, Hoppy talked about it in his commentary this morning. It was, for this generation, our Pearl Harbor. Where were you on that date? And as I said in the intro, I was actually on the air and the radio in Logan when we just aired Paul Harvey, as a matter of fact, Paul Harvey News and Comment. And then we started getting the alerts on we had the old Associated Press wire machine, and we hadn't made the changeover to computers on that aspect yet. And it just started going crazy. Yeah. And of course, we had, like I said, just down the hall from the radio, from the control room, we had a television set up in the sales department. And that's about the time, 8:30-ish in the morning, when all the salespeople came in. And so, we just nobody really knew what to do. Do you continue on playing music? Do you continue? What am I going to say in Logan, West Virginia, to tell you what's going on in New York? So we made the decision eventually to just turn it over to ABC and let them cover it. Let's move on. I want to talk about, we now know the dates of the special session. The governor making that announcement, Amelia, on Monday that the legislature will be called in on September 30th. We don't know exactly what the call will be. You cover a great deal of things in your work with West Virginia Watch, but you're probably best known, what you do best. You do it all well, but is your coverage of child issues. Are you very hopeful that something's going to happen in the special session?
Yes and no. So I am hopeful that we will see this child and dependent care tax credit, which is one part of the puzzle of the child care problem in West Virginia, as affordability. Governor Justice has said families are paying about $600 to $700 a month on childcare. Nationally, that number is about $10,000 a month, which is crazy, right? I'm sorry, $10,000 a year. Sorry, that's a crazy number. But I think we will see that. I don't know how it will be received. We haven't seen the warmest welcome to that, but also lawmakers have been clear we haven't seen the plan exactly. So I think we'll see that. TBD if it will be approved. But I don't know that we'll see other bills that could address other issues in childcare.
For those who haven't read your work or may not follow you on social media, and shame on you, by the way, if you aren't reading what she's doing right now, one of the biggest issues West Virginia is facing is this child care crisis, and we've seen it manifest itself, Amelia, in so many different forms. From the death of the young lady in Boone County to a certain extent what was going on out in Sissonville, with that situation, and there's so many of these things that just keep compounding themselves over and over. I guess the biggest question, and if you could answer this question, you wouldn't be sitting in a radio studio in Charleston, West Virginia right now. How did we get here? How did we get here? And more importantly, that's the $1 million. The $2 million question is, how do we solve this?
In regards specifically to childcare, child welfare?
All the above.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds.
I think
I'm kidding.
First of all, there's nowhere I'd rather be, but I think it's an investment, right? I think if I've learned anything from being a reporter who covers state government over the years, where you put your money is where you will get your return, and it also shows your priorities. And it's not that simple. We can't just make up money, right? We can't just print money. But I think when we have these surplus dollars that we're hearing about, but we aren't funding childcare, there's also issues in child welfare with funding that is reflected in how those services play out for sure.
Do you think it's safe to say that, and I brought this up a little bit on the air last week, that some of your reporting has ruffled a few feathers?
Yes, it has. Yes, I think this administration has been challenging to cover. There's always a push and pull between communications and reporters, but it is very difficult to write about complicated things. Childcare, for example, has federal, state funding requirements, all these things that are complicated. And when you can't get an email returned, from the people who run childcare in West Virginia or from the governor's administration. That coupled with then sometimes they come back and say that we're manifesting crises or that we're, just out there to attack them has definitely created
that was kind of what I was referring to, because I mentioned that on the show last week. There was one particular snarky little comment made and this was not with the governor's office, by the way, but it was within the administration who made a comment about, and I forget exactly, I'm not even going to justify it by saying exactly what it was, but it was basically something saying that you were just stirring the crap, basically, and that you weren't very good at what you did. And I find that's, I think that's just downright insulting. I really do.
Well, thank you. I think as a journalist, we don't want the story to become about us.
Right.
And 100%. So there's a little bit of a fine line of how much do I share with the public versus, this is just doing my job, right? But yeah, it has been difficult and challenging, but I have to remain vigilant that reporters are an important part of democracy. And I have to keep my head on straight and just keep pursuing facts.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live brought to you in part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Birds wrapping up their regular season with a road series against Gastonia through the weekend. For tickets, merchandise, promotions, and more, visit dirtybirdsbaseball.com. Still holding on to that chance that they may make the playoffs. So what are you looking at over the next couple of days? What are you looking at?
So I think this childcare issue is really what I'm focused on right now as we go into that special session at the end of the year. I'd also like to bring up something that I think we talked about last time I was here and you mentioned this. I mean, Kennedy Miller's death in Boone County has been one of the biggest stories of the year. This is the 14-year-old girl who was found emaciated, who was being homeschooled. And we heard a lot of talk during the May special session and the summer that we would do something with homeschool regulations or FOIA laws in response to Kennedy's death. And here we are in September, and that really is not being talked about at all. And so that is on my radar to kind of follow up on what did we learn from this child's tragic death? And if tightening homeschool regulations or how schools follow up on homeschool students could prevent another tragedy, I think that's something that needs to be part of the conversation. And Governor Justice had said there would be action on that, or he would try to have action on that in an upcoming special session, but that certainly hasn't been mentioned as we go into this September special session.
And again, that's going to be September 30th. Were you in Parkersburg for the interims?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Any exciting stuff come out? I know sometimes interims are just about, some can be kind of boring meetings or whatever. But anything coming out of the interims that interested you?
Not too interesting. Parkersburg was a wonderful host. Parkersburg was great. Yeah, I think it was a little odd. We just finished interims where there were some meaty discussions, and now we have the special session. So I think these were a little bit less meaty in subject matter. But we did have a press conference yesterday where House Democrats talked about childcare. So I think that is definitely on people's mind is how do we get the governor to expand this call to get some other bills on there, not just his tax credit.
Amelia Knisely with West Virginia Watch, and people can find you. Give us the exact website. And, of course, I know you're all over X and all the socials. What do you got?
We are at westvirginiawatch.com.
All right. Keep doing good stuff.
Thank you.
You're doing some wonderful things out there. 920, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Live Healthy West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Live Healthy, tackling pressing health issues. It's a podcast offering insights into medical breakthroughs and preventative care, featuring WVU Medicine's expert physicians aimed at fostering healthier lifestyles in and beyond the state. It's a valuable resource for all. Check out the latest episodes on WVMetronews.com under the podcast menu and start your journey towards better health today. Debate, comments. You can text them in to me now. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. Or you can call us. We'll get to those a little bit later on. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Going to take a break. State Senator Mike Stuart up next. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses want to thank you for supporting local small businesses.
Welcome to Poca Valley, where we've been in business since 1908. Today, we serve Roane, Kanawha, Putnam, and surrounding counties. We believe you deserve banking that provides friendly customer service. For all of your financial needs, stop by one of our 8 convenient locations. Call us at 844-782-2651 or visit us online at PocaValleyBank.com. Poca Valley, where relationships matter.
Member FDIC. Did you know that most homes and businesses in West Virginia have some sort of foundation settlement problem? If you're experiencing a settling foundation or sunken concrete slab, call the professionals at Marco Concrete Lifting. With the most advanced solutions and engineered equipment, your structural stability is their top priority. Marco Concrete Lifting can provide a structural engineer referral upon request. Protect your biggest investment, your home. Call Marco Concrete Lifting today at 722-LIFT. That's 722-LIFT.
Red, White, and Vroom make this the summer of Jeep at Thornhill CDJR on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Take advantage of incredible savings with up to $3,250 off MSRP on new 2024 Jeep Gladiator Sport. Head to Thornhill CDJR US 119 in Logan today and see why we're the top choice for Jeep enthusiasts. Don't miss out. Your summer adventure starts on the Thornhill Motor Mile. It's Red, White, and Vroom at the all-new Thornhill Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit us at Fountain Place Mall next to Tractor Supply on US 119 in Logan or online at thornhillcdjr.com. Qualify for all offers through Stellantis Financial. See Thornhill for all details.
923, the impact of Special Olympics extends far beyond the athletes themselves. Volunteers and supporters touched by the unwavering determination of these extraordinary individuals find immeasurable fulfillment in their involvement. The inclusive approach embraced by Special Olympics fosters an environment where everyone plays a vital role. West Virginia Enriched, in collaboration with Huntington, invites you to witness the transformative power of Special Olympics. See a video highlighting the Special Olympics, Facebook.com/580WCHS. Bigley Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Text says Amelia upholds the tradition of journalism and the Fourth Estate. Governor Justice and his administration uphold the recent trend of lying, hiding, and attacking journalists. It's pathetic. The Big Jim is a small, petty man. Amelia Knisely will bring facts to bear that will destroy the scoundrels. We don't use the word scoundrels enough on this show. Text says, does the push for universal childcare put pressure on all parents to enter the workforce? Will it have long-term negative effects on the natural family structure of all parents are being pushed to work at the expense of their child's rearing? Childcare is sometimes a necessity, but we can't lose complete focus on the long-term effects of what we are doing, says the texter. I want to quickly throw this out here. Last week, Friday, I think it was, I got a text to the show from a listener who was concerned that they could no longer monitor Metro 911 calls here in the Charleston area. I sent that text to Metro 911 Director Johnny Rutherford along with the number that was provided to me by the texter. The texter responded that Mr. Rutherford and his team were looking into the situation. Yesterday, I had communication with Johnny Rutherford saying the following, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. Apparently, the problem was with Broadcastify and that platform. It was marked as offline, which is something that is outside the control of Metro Radio Group, and that is out of their control, and we don't know who to contact about it. So there you go, texter. The problem with Metro 911 is with the provider. And I'm a little out of my lane here because I know absolutely nothing about this stuff. But just wanted to, you may want to check with the Broadcastify site and a platform, see, because apparently it is their problem. Always glad to be at your service. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Senate Finance Chair Eric Tarr is going to be here talking about the state income tax. And for some reason, Senator Tarr wanted to talk about guns. So we'll get into that on tomorrow's show. Also a special event coming up called Chef's Challenge. I will get into that. Want to welcome to the show now State Senator Mike Stuart. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I know you're going to want to talk about, I want to get your take on the debate last night.
I say, though, on the texter who said that Jim Justice, small man, I've never heard those two in the same sentence before.
He's got jokes. He comes loaded with jokes this morning. I do want to get your take a little bit later on, though, on the debate last night because I want you to weigh in that. But one thing I wanted to bring up is your involvement or you jumping in to help or whatever it is you want to call it. And this all has to do with protection for kids playing football. This tragic death of the young man from Boone County. The discussion has turned, Mike, Senator, to these guardian caps, a further layer of protection placed on the top of the regular helmets. They've been used in college and the pros, normally more in practice-type settings. Actually, this past week on the NFL, I saw in the Steelers game that one of their players was wearing one in game. What about this story? And I know you cover that area as state senator, but what about this story is that got you so involved in it?
Well, I tell you, this is as a father, when you hear a story like this, it breaks your heart. And Cohen Craddock, an ordinary boy on an ordinary day, out playing football like many of our kids do. When they play athletics, and mom and dad looking on, and other parents looking on, and a head hit. An ordinary head hit that drops him to the ground and this tragic death. Listen, this is common sense today. Mm-hmm. When football started, a lot of people don't realize there were not helmets when football started. The game of football started more than 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. Then we went to leather helmets. Then we went to plastic helmets. This is a natural progression of student athletic safety. We know the science is definitive today. Chronic head trauma. And not every case. Most cases don't end as tragically as Cohen Craddock's death on the football field. But most pile up over time. It's the trauma today that leads to next week, that leads to the following week. And we may not see it on the football field or in the classroom. But most of these kids aren't growing up to be NFL stars. They're growing up to be moms and dads and community leaders and small business people. And we ought to be doing everything we can within common sense and common constraint to protect this perpetual head trauma that shows up 20 years and 30 years later. This is perfect common sense. And when you see the NFL and college football teams taking that extra added layer of protection, I have no idea why we haven't moved this direction already. This makes common sense. In fact, I think the athletes on the field want this to happen. I'm surprised, based off what I've looked at so far, is that no state in the country has taken the extra step to protect our kids from the head trauma that happens every day on football fields, volleyball courts, lacrosse fields, playing soccer. We just need to be smarter. We love competition. We love seeing our kids out there compete. We love that they're engaged in extracurricular activities. But we need to be smarter. And West Virginia can lead the effort for the country on this on this tragic effort and turn it into something positive. Cohen Craddock's untimely, tragic passing can turn into saving countless people across this country and keeping families from mourning to celebrating that touchdown on the field. I had an hour-and-a-half call with the Guardian Cap folks, and for folks who don't know, it's like bubble wrap around your head.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like bubble wrap around your head, but more industrial style. Mm-hmm. They're not the only ones who have this type of head protection. And the NFL, WVU has been one of the leaders in this regard in terms of head trauma science, the data behind it to know how chronic it can be. And I intend to introduce a bill this coming session that won't speak specifically to Guardian Caps, but speaks to the need for us to be more cognizant, more aware. In fact, I've urged county boards of education and the WVSSAC to now begin the effort of examining student athletic safety on the field and on the court to make sure we're doing all we can in a common sense way to protect our kids. It's common sense. We need to do this. It doesn't cost much money to put every kid. If we did this in West Virginia, every kid on the football field from grade school to high school in a Guardian Cap is about $40. $40.
Now, to be clear, you're talking about in-game as well, right?
So I've said, and I'm open to a discussion on this, but anytime there's contact in practice, for sure, but definitely at the grade school and middle school level, it ought to be in-game as well. But I would welcome a discussion. Listen, no bill passes without a negotiation and a discussion. So I'm open to a discussion, but I'm not open to folks saying we don't need that right now. We don't need that right now. And in fact, if I were a helmet manufacturer, I'd be adding a Guardian Cap or some other protective covering. And so what I've seen, even over the past few weeks, is that there is a bit of a street fight between those folks who sell helmets and those folks who sell the extra protection. But all I do is look at the NFL. And as a dad, and I know that when my kids were playing volleyball at George Washington, and I could see when those young ladies were up there spiking the ball at 60, 65 miles per hour, and kids were hitting the court and getting hit by the ball and causing them head trauma or concussions. I even said back then, why aren't they wearing any sort of head protection? It just seems to make common sense. We need to step up, and I've encouraged even the governor for this special session that's coming up. Let's do it now. Let's not wait till next year. Let's avoid another tragedy. This is so easy for us to fix. Let's do it now. Let's not wait.
Talking to State Senator Mike Stuart, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Jute. For the best in security systems for both your home or business, talk to Jute of Tays Valley. Visit protectedbyjute, JOOT.com. Had a text to the show because anytime I say Mike Stewart's coming on the show, I get text. And I had one yesterday, and I can't for the life of me seem to find it, but I will paraphrase it. And it basically was saying that from you, hear me out on this. This was a texter that said this, that from you, it was kind of a weird flex because you were someone who I think was pretty adamantly against mask mandates. And why? What's the difference between the two? I think that's an unfair comparison. I have my opinion, but what would you say to that?
Gosh, I think at any point when you look at my career over the long term, it's been about protecting our kids. That's been a common theme. And so
my point exactly, kids.
Whether we're
kids and adults.
Whether we're talking about child welfare.
Yeah.
And I've been one of the few people loudly saying we need a full, deep dive, independent investigation of the child welfare system to be able to make sure the system works better. Our system is broken. We're making improvements. We're doing the best we can to try to make improvements. But guess what? It's broken. It needs to be fixed. We need to worry less about who's going to get in trouble from a deep dive investigation, but we need to do it. On the issue of guardian caps, it's common sense. As a mom and dad, I can tell you moms and dads from across West Virginia and across the country, for that matter, are reaching out to me right now. Former coaches here in West Virginia are reaching out to me saying this is something that needs to be done. It's common sense. When you look at the issue of dispensaries and the marijuana issue, I've always spoken in terms of protecting our kids. The common theme of everything I've done throughout my career is focus on protecting our kids. And so I'm going to continue to do that. I didn't ask to be on your show today. I was invited to be on.
Yeah, exactly.
And didn't solicit it. This is something I believe in.
I reached out to you.
This is something I believe in. And we're going to continue to fight for these issues. I may not look at the world exactly the same as other people. I have my view, but I think the most important thing we can do is protect our children all across West Virginia, whether it's from drugs, whether it's on the football field or otherwise. That's always going to be where I focus my time.
Text says, ask Mike if gun violence kills more kids than playing football. Why not get bulletproof vests for kids?
So everybody likes to throw this stuff out there, and that's just sort of a ridiculous question. I get it that I'm a target for these types of questions, but I believe that guns also protect the public through the safety of making sure they're safe inside their homes. When you have folks coming across the border like we do today, when you have drug dealers on our streets like you do today, when you have the homeless problem and mental health issues that we do today, I think those folks who have the protection of a firearm, those aren't folks who are causing issues on our streets. And so I think we can have a broad discussion on this and use common sense. But we've gotten to a point where the politics is so bitter that if you have any opinion on anything, folks just want to undercut you. They don't want to have good discussions. I had somebody on social media, it's a media person, but on social media, they say the worst things about me, just terrible. And they called me one day for comment on a story. And I called them back and they said, hey, do you know who I am? I said, yeah, you're the person who says all that bad stuff about me on social media. And they said, well, but that's social media. That's social media. That's different than when I call you. And I said, listen, you should be the same way on social media as you are when you speak to me on the phone.
100%.
And I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, if you support President Trump or you support Vice President Harris. We can be civil in our discussions. We can agree and disagree strongly. But it doesn't mean we have to be so disrespectful in our conduct of our discussion. And I think that's where we need to begin in having these honest discussions. These are serious issues, but it doesn't mean we don't like each other and can't get along at the end of the day.
Let's talk about the debate last night. You and full disclosure, former head of the Trump campaign, 2016 in West Virginia. So what was your takeaway last night?
So I think today I'd be surprised if you can find anybody who didn't support President Trump or didn't support Vice President Harris that changed their mind last night.
Yeah,
listen, nothing burger. We're going to cover this thing, but the reality is these debates aren't a big deal anymore. We cover them like they're massive. We look for how did he stand and how did she look? What did he say? What did she say? Where's the good glib one-liner? The reality is nobody changed their mind. We're at exactly the same spot today as we were yesterday. Mm-hmm. And this contest,
we're even more dug in now.
We're more dug in, and you can look at his comment about this or what she said about that. Listen, it's a 90-minute debate. I'd rather look at records over the long term. I'm voting for President Trump. I'm voting because I think it's incredibly important for our country. And I realize there's some folks who disagree with that. I respect that. But anybody telling me that the entire basis of how they vote in this election is based off some 90-minute debate on television, that's gobbledygook. That's garbage. I don't believe it for a second.
I tend to agree with you on that, Mike, Senator. But what about those that are undecided? There are some out there. I don't know anybody personally in my bubble in West Virginia, but let's say go out. Well, there are still, they say, especially some of the swing states, and you know how this works, there are still people that may be undecided. Were they swayed in any way last night? Or did they just look at both of them and say, screw this, I'm out?
I think this election comes down to two questions, right? Which is, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? That's always the measure. Are you doing better today than you were 4 years ago? And two, I think there are a lot of folks that want change, but they want to make sure the next 4 years aren't chaos. And so when they look at the Trump team and the Trump campaign, I think if they can understand and feel comfortable that we're not looking at 4 years of chaos, I think he wins this race.
But weren't we under chaos with Trump, Mike?
That's my point. I think there are a lot of folks who look at the first 4 years
I get where you're going,
and say, gosh, it was exhausting, right? There were always big changes. His record was big. He did a great job in my view. But it was always unpredictable day after day after day. I think there are a lot of soccer moms out there, a lot of suburban people who are saying, if it's not going to be chaos, I'll support President Trump. His job between now and Election Day is to make it clear this is not going to be an administration of chaos. It's going to be an administration of economic and social renewal across the country. But the chaos thing, I think, is what people are frustrated about.
I get that. And especially, he hasn't helped that, Senator, by saying things like, using terms like retribution and things of that nature when he gets into office. I mean, he doesn't really, I feel, Mike, with all due respect, I think that former President Trump could go a long way into possibly helping his own cause. I don't know last night that he did that at all.
Well, I don't disagree with you. What I'd love to hear from him, and I doubt we're going to hear it, is I wasn't perfect. But every day I got up, I worked hard for the American people. And this time I'm going to work just as hard, and I'm going to show you how I learned from those things I did that weren't perfect. I think if he were just to say a few things like that, I think it would go a long way to closing the deal out. People want change. They understand that Harris is the same. It's the same policies we have in place today. When I go to the grocery store, when I get my utility bills at the end of the month, when I fill up my truck with gasoline, it's not President Trump who's responsible for that. When we look at chaos on the border, it's not President Trump that's responsible for that. When we look at the inconsistent policies with respect to the Middle East, when we look at the hundreds of billions of dollars we're spending in Ukraine in an endless war, that's not President Trump. I think people are hungry for change. All they want to know is that I'm going to have 4 years without chaos. They want to make sure that there's a good everyday effort to try to focus on the American people. That's his job between now and Election Day, is to make it clear this won't be chaos. This will be an organized rebuild of our country.
Say, Senator Mike Stuart, always a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Hey, it's 9/11. I just want to end with this.
Yes, sir.
Let's roll. Let's roll, in the words of Todd Beamer. And I'll never forget where I was on that day. My daughter, ironically, a 9/11 baby, works across the street from the 9/11 memorial today. And I pray for those folks. I still get emotional when I think back to 9/11. Our country's slowly forgetting.
Agreed.
The importance of that day and what it meant for this country. We've never been the same since. And I think of Todd Beamer often. He was the guy on that flight that organized everybody to take that plane down to avoid it going into Washington, and who knows what the target would have been. But I admire him. He's an American hero, and I say it often. Every 9/11, I say a prayer for him. Let's roll.
All right, very well put. Senator Stuart, I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live brought to you part by Hudson's Pizza. This month is your favorite Hudson's. Get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and an 8-inch chocolate chip cookie, only $23.99. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Are you looking for a technical job in the medical field? Generations is growing and looking to add on job-trained physical therapy techs to our rehab team. To apply, visit one of our 7 convenient locations or simply click on us at generationspt.com.
At Garib Dental Group, we love to see your smile. Take proactive steps towards optimal oral health with our comprehensive preventive care services. Our team of experienced doctors at 6 convenient locations is passionate about keeping your smile healthy and bright. From regular checkups and cleanings to advanced treatment, we are here to prevent dental issues before they start. Visit GaribDentalGroup.com to learn more and experience personalized care tailored to your needs. Garib Dental Group, where your smile receives the care it deserves.
Fall is the best time to plant trees. MonPower and Potomac Edison are here with tips to help you plant smart. Let shade trees lower your electric bills. Carefully positioned trees can reduce a home's energy consumption for heating and cooling by up to 25%. For more tree planting tips, visit FirstEnergyCorp.com. This message sponsored by First Energy, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and the station.
Trojan Landing Marine is excited to announce they've expanded into power sports. Now offering mini bikes from Benelli and scooters from Keyway, you can find everything you need for your next adventure. Whether you're hitting the water or the open road, Trojan Landing has you covered with the latest boats and power sports vehicles. Visit today and check out the new lineup of mini bikes and scooters. Adventure awaits at Trojan Landing in Charleston. Find more fun at TrojanLanding.com.
Hi, I'm Jason Hansen, a former CIA officer. In these uncertain times, with rising geopolitical tensions and skyrocketing inflation, protecting your financial future is crucial. That's why I trust Advantage Gold for all my precious metal investments. They're the only company I buy from, period. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 for a 100% free gold guide. See exactly how gold can safeguard your wealth. Again, call 800-900-8000 today.
Paid for by Advantage Gold. Performance may vary. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
943, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Pinnacle Consultants. Their services involve developing comprehensive management plans to outline strategies for controlling and minimizing asbestos exposure, perfect for commercial property owners and managers. Visit pinnaclecorp.net because what you don't know can hurt you. Bigley, Piggly, Wiggly hotline, 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text, 304-935-5008. Hobby on the way at 10:06 of Metro News Talk Line. As you may expect, reactions to last night's presidential debate will dominate the conversation. Speaking of which, Hoppy has a flash poll up on his X page simply asking who had the better debate last night. And as of right now, as timely as today's headlines, as Letterman would say, Metro News Talkline flash poll, who had the better debate last night? It has Kamala Harris, 64%, Donald Trump, 36%. That's where we are right now on Hoppy's poll. You could weigh in on it on his X page. Also on the show today, Jared Halper from Fox News Radio and former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones on last night's debate. State Ag Commissioner Kent Leonhardt on the drought, thoughts on 9/11, more on the West Virginia School System Teacher of the Year and Service Worker of the Year, and more. Hoppy coming up at 10:06 with Metro News Talkline. All right, so the debate last night. I've asked people to weigh in with your debates, and I have plenty of texts to get to. So I'm going to do my best to try to get as many texts in as I can, and I'll give you my analysis on the debate. But to be honest with you, I am more interested in your opinion. I have a show. I could talk anytime I want. I would rather hear your opinion. One thing I will say, though, last night, one thing that just keeps sticking out in my head that I'm hearing last night.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
I can't get that out of my head. I'm sorry. When I heard that last night from that, and by the way, that story has been debunked by, the Springfield Police Department, by the mayor's office in Springfield, and also by the Republican governor of Ohio, who also said that Mike DeWine has said that that's not happening. Text says debates can move the needle. The last debate with Biden moved the needle big time. Agreed. Don't dismiss them outright. That is a mistake, says the texter. Texter says, didn't Democrats say the same thing about after the first debate, saying that they don't matter or something to that effect? And I would agree with that. Man, if I could, this one, I think, wrote a book. I'm going to read as much of it as I can. Harris knew where and how to hit Trump on a personal level. She figured out how to not only press his buttons, but cause him to abandon rational thinking. As a result, he played to win the battle, not the war, and ended up losing his way on both. Harris did not do enough to win voters who key in on economy, energy, or fiscal policy. If she wants moderates and independents, they aren't sold on last night's ability to square Trump or force him to go off the tangents. They need more tangible, documented policy stances in order to commit. Otherwise, these voters will go another way or will swallow hard and vote for Trump. Trump should have owned her on immigration, and he fumbled it, still worried about his addressing about perception saving face. He needed that issue to turn momentum back his way, and he botched it. Harris cornered him on abortion and won there. Moderate women will respond favorably. Trump needed to hit her on tax cuts and job acts, which are set to expire. Needed to press that under his administration, those cuts would continue, and under a Harris administration, they would not. That was a huge miss and would have damned her with the economic-focused voters. The juxtaposition wasn't great for Trump. She won the optics battle and appearance vote. His frustration sometimes played as mental gas. Dems will try to hang that on him just as he hung it on Biden, i.e. doesn't know the difference between West Virginia and Virginia. Yeah, that's a big part of it, too. I'll get into that if I can. Look for Harris to deny Trump another debate. She doesn't need it at this point. She can now focus on specific policy stances targeted to specific voting blocks. She needs to rebound personally and regain the high ground on core issues like immigration. By the way, she came out afterwards and says she wants more debates. Somebody convinced Trump not to be himself. He started out bottling up his emotion and his way of bantering. People may not like it, but it's genuinely who he is. When a candidate abandons who he is, good or bad, he's lost. Playing nice or nicer with Biden worked. It didn't last night. If you're going to be judged for what you are. Own it. He followed bad advice, and that allowed Harris to get under his skin. If he proactively shuts down her from square one like he has with other people, she would not have had it in. He could have played his game from that point on likely the biggest mistake of his political career, says a texter. It's quite a text. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, presented by General Hardware of Winfield and Milton. General Lumber of Winfield for all projects, big and small. Shop locally. Visit generalhardwarewv.com. Text Dave, I couldn't watch the whole debate. Harris was just rambling on nonsense, and Trump was really not saying anything new that I haven't heard before, so I turned it off. Text says, Dave, happy to let you know that Crouton made it through the night and was not a buffet for immigrants. We kept him indoors just to be safe. Come on, people, wake up. On a more serious note, please take time to remember those who have lost their lives 23 years ago today. That's a reference to Crouton, who is our star dog. That we get a dog, try to get a pet adopted every Friday on the show. And Crouton was one of our pets, and the texters, there's the ones that adopted Crouton. And so, yeah, that was an absolutely ridiculous moment by Trump. I mean, it was absolutely just positive.
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Text said, going back to your comments on the Metro 911 feed, I got immediate response from Metro 911 regarding the radio feed. They were excellent and contacted me several times to update me and help. Text says the debate was hilarious. It was sad. Trump has clearly lost it. It will never happen, but I hope he does the honorable thing and drops out of the race. Well, that ain't gonna happen. I'm likely to put on Washington Commanders gear to do this show before Donald Trump will ever drop out of anything, because it's just not gonna happen. Text says, Dave, I support Guardian caps, but I just can't take it seriously for Mike Stuart. Anytime there's a tragedy, it seems like Mike magically shows up and inserts himself. I hope I'm wrong and they get this done. Text says, hey, Dave, about the MAGA folks are truly disappointed in their dear leader Trump for confusing West Virginia and Virginia, and I bet none of them will admit it in public. That's a pretty big deal. And yeah, look, we all have mental gaffes. I have them, 4 or 5 times, if not more, a show. I get that. But not knowing the difference between Virginia and West Virginia's governor during the debate last night, and totally botching what the Virginia governor said in the first place about it, is kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. Bigley Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show at 580 Live, brought to you part by Bridge Valley. Interested in improving your company's IT workforce? Know that Bridge Valley offers custom-tailored IT training to bridge the skills gap. At Bridge Valley, train for little or no cost. 50-50 salary match available. Bridge Valley can also supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu/apprenticeships today. Back after this on The Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses care for your family.
Hey, it's Dave Allen for Parmar Stores. Our lives are all hectic. That goes without saying. It also goes without saying we're always looking for ways to make our lives just a little bit easier. That's where your local Parmar store comes in. From gas to groceries and snacks to a quick soda or that morning cup of coffee you need to keep you going, Parmar's got it. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Are you changing jobs or gearing up for retirement? Don't navigate your financial journey alone. At 4th Avenue Financial, we specialize in guiding individuals through life's transitions. From optimizing your retirement savings to managing your investments, we're here to provide expert advice every step of the way. Schedule your free consultation with John Burdett and take control of your financial future today. 4thavenuefinancial.com.
Securities offered through Jenny B. Cole Financial Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Jenny B. Cole Advisors Incorporated.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey. And how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
8 away from 10, the Dave Allen Show and 580 Live brought to you by Brightway Insurance Maze Agency. Spend time on your business, not your insurance. Brightway, the Maze Agency, can help explain the types of insurance you need based on your line of business, your location, other big important factors. They can select different insurance companies to make sure you're getting the right coverages and prices to protect your business. For more, visit brightwaymaze.com. Text says, force Mike Stuart to agree that Trump was right to call the January 6 criminals hostages and political prisoners, and to agree that they should be pardoned. Text says, get it right. Suicide by gun is the number one cause of death of kids. I suppose immigrants, criminals, and drug dealers are giving kids these guns, right, Mike Stewart? Text says, any guardian cast for bullets? ? I think a lot of kids have head trauma from being shot, says a texter. Text says, Dave, let Mike know that I'm sure he's listening, that the PSC has raised my utilities 150% since Republicans have taken over. Fact check, says a texter. Texas Dave, while Miss Harris has made a fool of Mr. Trump, leave no doubt. Thought I might inject a little humor here. The biggest revelation of the evening was for me. Taylor Swift considers herself a childless cat lady. Speaking of Taylor Swift, kudos to producer Ryan Nicholson for bringing this up to me. It was in my copious amounts of notes here. It came out last night after the debate that the biggest pop star, the biggest star on the planet, Taylor Swift, is endorsing former or current Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, did you think for a moment that she was going to endorse Trump? I mean, let's be honest here. And people, and I've been one that is kind of just, whatever. I mean, celebrities, I don't care what, throw your ball, play your guitar. I really don't care what you think. But I'm going to say this about Taylor Swift. I can't name a single Taylor Swift song, and that's probably good because I'm nearly 54 years old. It would be weird as hell if I did. But I will say this about Taylor Swift. She's the biggest star on the planet. And if you don't think that endorsement means something, you might want to check the voter registration rolls of Vera McCormick here in Kanawha County or Bryan Wood or Putnam County or one of the other county clerks and see how many Swifties are seeing today, whether they are registered to vote and where they go vote. It's a big deal. It is a really, really big deal. Again, I'm one that says that celebrities, they're entitled to their opinions like everybody else. I don't think they should hold more water than the guy who is, fixing your air conditioner or the person waiting on you at Wendy's. But, she's the biggest star on the planet. And I think it's going to go a long, long way. Now, on the whole thing with him saying that the former governor of West Virginia executed babies after they were born. Okay, first of all, he attributed that to the former West Virginia governor, which in this case would be Earl Ray Tomblin. I know Earl Ray Tomblin. That didn't happen. He was referring to Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, and he didn't say that either. He was referring to late-term pregnancies when fetuses are non-viable, and that the discussion should be had with the mother. There were a lot of other facts on both sides that were not facts. Trump said Harris wouldn't meet with Netanyahu. That's half true. Half true. She did meet with him the following day. I called her out on the show, if you remember, for not meeting with him. But she did meet with him. It just happened to be the following day. Trump said the U.S. left millions of brand new military equipment in Afghanistan. That has been proven by nonpartisan fact checkers to be false. I told you about the Haitian immigrants thing. You got to look at credible news sources. And I appreciate my listeners, my texters sending me all these stories. But look, if it doesn't come from a credible freaking news source, I had people sending me stuff last night and people posting online these what look like camcorder videos of something from, John's basement or something. I mean, you got to do better than that, man. If the police says it didn't happen, the mayor says it didn't happen, the Republican governor says it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Text says, Dave, we should honor and remember those who we lost in 9/11 and what the ensuing fights in the Middle East cost, especially to our veterans. But we should also learn from it, better understand extremism by not just foreign entities, but also here at home in a polarized America. 100% agree. Not a fake news story. Springfield residents say Haitian migrants are decapitating and eating ducks in the park as Ohio town rages over explosion of migrants from Springfield, Ohio council meeting. All right, send me a link. I will look at it. Can't look at it when I'm on the air, but I do appreciate that. I will say this about, and I'm glad that the texter pointed that out about extremism. And this might be a way to sort of close the show. Today is the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. We all remember where we were. I talked about it with Amelia and with Senator Stuart, my other people that were on the show today. We all remember where we were. I posted something, though, on my personal Facebook page. Many of you follow me there. I posted, I tend to be a little bit more personal. Mainly food pics and sports stuff. We talk about September 11th. But do you remember September 12th? September 12th was the day that everybody, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, all came out of that 24-hour or so slumber that we were in, that stupor, I guess is probably a better term, when we didn't know what to do, and everybody united. Do you think that would happen today? Well, let's think about that for a moment. And I've brought this up on the show before. If 9/11 were to happen today, immediately Fox News would be all over it, blaming the Biden administration. MSNBC would be all over it, blaming former President Trump somehow. I get tons of texts of this show where people were blaming everybody. But on September 12th, 2001, America came together, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, and said, we're in a bad place. And folks, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to close with this. We're in a bad place right now in America. We need September 12th, 2001. That's what we need. Dave Allen Show at 580 Live, brought to you part by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Injured, visit forthepeople.com. I'll be coming up with Talk Line. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
In Charleston, 104.5 Cross Lane, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here, too.